Hey guys, it's Siobhan with To Kitty and Beyond. Today I wanted to talk all about spiders. And I know that that's not necessarily a subject that everybody likes or wants to hear about, but spiders are one of my personal spirit totems, and they have a lot of wisdom to share with us, despite the fact that a lot of us simply don't like them, is irrelevant. It's all about what they represent and how they are so intricately woven into our lives. So the spirit totem presented itself for me at a really young age. I mean, I grew up in Vancouver, and if you have ever been to Vancouver or you live in Vancouver, then you know that there are spiders everywhere, little tiny ones to really, really big ones. And there was always this myth that if you killed a spider, it would rain. And of course, there's so many spiders and it rains all the time. So the idea was that there must be a lot of people killing spiders because it's always raining. But really, in reality, spiders, they kind of gravitate to that damp sort of environment because there's lots of life. There's lots of flies. There's lots of different things that they can feed on and survive. So it's a good habitat for them. So the spider presented itself to me. I don't remember the first time, but I saw one this morning as well. I woke up and the first thing that I saw when I looked out the window was a little spider, just a little one, kind of golden in color almost, and it was climbing up the window, and it kept falling because its little grippers on its feet weren't getting much traction on the window pane. But it was trying really hard to build a web on the outside of the window, and I could see that it was spinning the web out of its thorax, but it wasn't able to get traction. It wasn't able to create this web, and it just kept falling and then climbing back up the web and doing it again and trying it in a different location. And it tried this for a while. I watched it for a while, and it just kept trying and it just kept falling. And I was like, okay, when is it going to figure out that the window is not a good location to build this web because it's not able to get this traction? So it crawled all the way to the other side of the window, trying this over and over and over again. And eventually it fell, and I figured, it must have given up because I didn't see it climb back up. But then not too long later, just a couple of minutes, I saw it building a web just in front of the window where there happened to be a plant that was extending over from the garden to the window, and it was building a web in there. So it got to build the web where it wanted to build the web, a little bit out from where it was trying to, but this actually worked better. And because it was closer to the garden by a little bit, it's probably going to have more luck catching food because that's where all the flies and stuff actually hang out. So what this really spoke to me about was, first of all, patience. And when I looked up the spider totem meaning, patience was a big, big part of it. So patience, tenacity, perseverance, and not giving up, because it didn't give up. It still managed to make its web in the location that it wanted to, but it did it in a different way, and it did it in a way that it was able to gain traction, and it was actually better in the long run. So if something's not working for you, it's not an indication to give up. It's just an indication to try something a little bit differently, to tweak something, to continue to explore the boundaries and see where it is that's going to work for you. And I wanted to share that with you guys. So some more spirit totem meanings for the spider are as follows. So the spider has 8 legs. The number 8 represents abundance, infinity, karma, and as well as karmic choices. And this really ties into the weaving of the web. They are, and we are, the weavers of our own fate. Our web is what we create. And this really stems back to creativity. But it's also to do with choices. So whatever choices you're making in your life, those are the webs that you're creating. Those are the things that you've chosen to make. If there is an imbalance there, then your web will be imbalanced, and things won't be going as smoothly as they could be for you. And that's another aspect of the spider, is because the spider sparks fear in us. This is really touching on the shadow aspect and our own shadow aspects. It brings to light things that we fear in our life, because that's where the imbalance is. If there is fear there, there's something to be addressed. If we look to the areas of our life where we feel this same fear and aversion that we feel for the spider itself as it crawls along or whatever it is, then we can find creative ways to weave a new web, to change, and have patience with ourselves in the process of changing how we think about something or how we attack an issue or a problem. So viewing these things from many different angles allows us to gain a different perspective and try things in a new way. And that's what this web is all about. It's being able to see things from all these different locations to gain a more whole perspective, something that can help you and assist you in overcoming your fear and overcoming your resistance to the fear, which is a big one. So back up on the light side of things, the spider totem also represents building and creating very delicate yet strong things. Like the webs that they weave are so intricate, they're so finite and delicate, and yet they're extremely strong. They may not seem strong to us because we're so much bigger, but for the scale that they have, they're extremely strong. And this, it really indicates that you can be both. You don't have to be just strong or just delicate. You can be both, and your creations can be a reflection of that. And it's all right to have this inner strength as well as being gentle or feminine, because the spider totem also represents the divine feminine. And we all have this divine feminine aspect. Whether you are male or female, we all have this divine feminine aspect within us. And this is the creative essence of who we are. This is that divine mother energy. This is what allows us to be creators, to do whatever we want. However we want our web to look, we can make it look that way. And we have the infinite knowledge and the infinite abundance to be able to do that. The only thing limiting you from doing that is your own self-doubt or fear. And this can be learned, or it can be, this is something that it comes from within us. It's not something that, we necessarily created, but it's something that we internalized. So this is really about, if the web isn't working for you, then maybe it's time to try building a new one. Or if you're having difficulty climbing up that window and you just keep trying the same thing and you keep falling, maybe it's time to move to a different location and see if it'll work better there. Just keep experimenting, keep trying, do new things, new different things, and eventually you'll figure it out. Don't give up. I think that's really the message here. Now, I also wanted to share a little story time of some of the interactions that I've had with my spirit animals in the form of the spider. And one of them was, it's a little bit dark in nature. However, it saved me. So I was probably 21 or 22, in my early 20s. And I worked at a club at the time, like a bar downtown, and I was bartending. And I was waiting for the bus to go downtown. I wasn't actually working that night, but I was going to go and meet up with some friends and have some drinks. And I was waiting at the bus stop, probably about a block away from my house. And this car pulled up. And this man rolled down the window, probably in his 30s, like mid-30s. And he started chatting me up. He's like, "Where are you going tonight? You look really good." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks, whatever." And he's like, "Well, do you want to ride? I'm heading down that way." And I was like, "No, thanks. The bus should be here in like 5 minutes. It's really not that far. I don't mind." And he kept persisting. He was trying to convince me to get in the car. And he kept trying for a while. And I kept saying no. And he kept trying. And eventually I kind of started to wear down. I was like, okay, well, well, it'll get me there faster. And, he was manipulating me. He was convincing me. He was trying to put me at ease, but against my better judgment, because I could feel this repulsion from him. I was not supposed to get in that car. But despite that, I agreed. I was like, okay. And as I started walking towards the car, and I reached out my hand to grab the door, to open it. All of a sudden, just before my hand touched the door, this big spider just ran right across the door handle, right where I was going to put my hand. And this was a light colored vehicle, probably light silver or white. It's funny how your memory works like that, right? I can't remember what it was, but it was a light colored vehicle. And I would have seen this spider coming in my peripheral vision if it had crawled from down below or up above, but I didn't see it. I only saw it right as it ran across where my hand was going to touch. And so I immediately recoiled. I pulled my hand back and I stepped away. I instinctively took some steps back from the vehicle, and he's like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I saw a spider and I don't like spiders, and I think that this is a sign that I'm not supposed to get in the car with you." He did not like that answer. He started to get upset. He started to get mad. He started to try and convince me even more aggressively. And at that point, I was like, yeah, no, this is not happening. I went against my better judgment, just even going towards the car. And that was a sign from God. At that time, I was not spiritual like I am now. But even in that moment, I knew. I was like, no, this is not okay. I'm being protected. That happened for a reason. And so I moved away and I started walking, and I didn't want to walk back to my house, even though it was less than a block away, because he would know where I lived and he could come back. So my instinct was to walk up the street away from my house. And it's a fairly well lit street, but there's businesses on either side and a school, and they're all shut down. So it's not like there was houses. My house was a little further back, and there was a neighborhood, but further up it was all like businesses and stuff. So I'm walking, I'm not seeing anybody, I don't know what to do. And this was back when BBM was a thing, like BlackBerry Messenger. And so I did a BBM blast, or I put it on as my little message, as my status or whatever it was back then. And I put, help. And I put where I was, and I said, I need help. And I think I actually put SOS. And so I started walking down the street. He followed me in his car, and he tried to cut me off by pulling into a little dip in the sidewalk, where you would pull your car into a parking lot. And so I ran across to the other side of the street, and he pulled a U-turn and tried to do the same thing again. So I did the same thing again. I ran across to the other side of the street and I started running. And he tried the second time he tried to cut me off, he opened the door and was about to get out. So that's why I booked it. I started running down the street. And as I'm running and I'm panicking and I'm in heels and a mini skirt, I'm like, oh God. So I'm running as fast as I can, which is actually pretty fast in heels, because I was a seasoned vet in my 6-inch stilettos. And I hear my name, Siobhan. And I look over, and there's these two guys that I work with at the bar, and they're like, "Get in the car." And I run over and I get in the car, and they were like, "Oh my God, we saw your BBM blast, and we happened to be in the area, and we saw you running, and we saw the guy behind you getting out of the car." And they were like, "Thank God we were here at the right place at the right time." And so I was safe, and we went downtown, and they bought me a drink because I was shaking, physically shaking after this, and calmed me down and made me feel safe and protected. So the moral of the story here is that, first of all, the spider really saved me there, because, we can speculate as to what this man wanted, but we all know what he wanted. And I actually did report it to the police. I called them and I gave them a description of the vehicle and a description of the man from what I could remember. And they said that it matched the profile of a rapist who had raped at least one woman in the Gatineau area, which was just across the bridge where I was living in Ottawa at the time. And he had attempted to abduct 3 other women. And so he was gaining notoriety in the Gatineau area, his face and his like wanted posters were up for him. So he moved over to the Ottawa area and then tried to prey on me. So, you know, the spider really saved me there. And my guides, my angels, my guardians, thank God, they provided me with an escape as well. And they were looking out for my safety. So I'm really, really thankful to the spider spirit totem for saving me that day, for protecting me, because that man was embodying his shadow aspect. He was in his darkness and he was trying to catch me in his web. And that's what the spider was trying to tell me. It was like, no, don't go into that web because you're prey at this point. So yeah, I don't want to share that message to drive anybody into fear. I'm sharing it because it's to let you know that you guys are protected, that no matter what, it's so long as you follow your inner guidance, and even sometimes when you don't, you are protected. Your guardian angels, your spirit guides, your totems, your animals, friends and family, they will always be there right when you need them, when you are in dire need. And that was what I learned that day. And I'm so thankful that I was protected and that I was guided not to get in that car. Against my better judgment, I was going to do it. And I thank God I didn't. Thanks to the spider. So thank you to the spiders. Why did it have to be spiders? Why couldn't it have been follow the butterflies? But you know what? I'm thankful anyway. I'm really thankful for the spiders in my life. I just ask that they respect my boundaries and don't crawl on my face in my sleep. Everybody wins. So yeah, thanks for listening, guys. I just wanted to share that with you today, a little bit of a personal story time, as well as some spider spirit animal information. I love you. Thank you so much for listening. If you guys would like to book a personal reading or a Reiki healing session with me, all of the information will be in the description box below my original video on my channel, To Kitty and Beyond. All of the prices are still reflecting the Summer Sadness discount, so that'll be going until September 1st. If you'd like to take advantage of that, then now would be the time to do so. Thanks again, guys. I love you. We'll see you next time. Bye.